Alright, so this video is going to cover Objective 2, Chapter 6 on how bones are classified. And so first off, we have two main divisions of our skeleton. We have the axial skeleton, which think of it like your main axis. It is going to be the vertical axis of the body. It is going to include your skull, it's going to include your vertebra, and it's going to include your rib cage. And so because of the important organs that are going to be in there, one of its biggest jobs is going to be protection, and it's also going to be a point of attachment for all of the rest of the skeleton. So we have our skull protecting our brain, we have our ribs protecting our heart and our lungs, and we have our vertebra protecting our spinal cord. Within the axial skeleton, there's 80 bones of the 206 that make up the adult skeleton. And then the other division is the appendicular skeleton. And so think of this as your appendages. Okay, this is going to be your arms and your legs, as well as the girdles, which are going to be the attachment locations where they attach to the axial skeleton. And so in the appendicular skeleton, there's going to be 126 bones, and you can see all the different bones that are highlighted in blue there. So of the 206 bones, we can classify them into one of 5 groups based on their shape. Some of these are kind of self-explanatory, but you will kind of need to know examples and kind of definitions of each type. So we're going to start with long bones, and like the name implies, they are longer than they are wide. They're kind of cylindrical shaped. Normally when you think of a bone, like a dog bone, this is what you're thinking about. You're going to find these in your arms and your legs. You're going to find them in your fingers and your toes. And so a lot of your appendicular skeleton is going to be long bones. And so there's some examples. Those are all going to be found in the arm, in the leg, and then in the hands and the fingers and the toes. And then short bones, like their name implies, they're about the same size all the way around, give or take, but they're not cylindrical like your long bones. They're more cube-like. And then these are going to be found in your wrist, your carpals, and your ankles, your tarsals. So you can kind of see here there's a bunch of smaller bones in both of those areas. All right, flat bones, like it says, they're going to be flat. They're going to be thin and curved typically. This includes the bones of the skull, your cranial bones, the scapula, which is your shoulder blade, the sternum, which is your breastbone, the pelvis, and your ribs. All of those are going to be flat bones. And then you have irregular bones, and they're very complex in their shape. They don't really have a specific type. They're going to have unique features and unique projections. And so these are going to be your facial bones, like your sphenoid bone and your ethmoid bone. It's also going to include your vertebra. They have lots of projections coming off of them. And then you have your sesamoid bones, and they're named because they're kind of like a sesame seed. They're very small and round. They're going to form in your tendons, and the only one that we all have in common is the patella, because they form based on stress and where they're needed. They're typically going to be in the feet, hands, and knees, but for the most part, it's going to vary from person to person. And so here you see some examples of your flat bones, and then examples of your irregular bones, and then you've got some examples of your sesamoid bones. All right, so true or false? The skull is part of the axial skeleton. That is going to be true. It's part of our main axis. And a type of short bone, sphenoid is irregular, femur is a long bone, rib bone is a flat bone, so that is going to be your carpal bone. And we'll pick up the next video with Objective 3.